Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Lizzy.
And I'm John.
And this is Harry Potter and the second time readers.
Let's go.
That feels so wrong.
No way. I feel like it felt great to me.
Okay.
That was perfect. I love that. All right, we're going over 4 or 5 chapters. We haven't quite decided yet, but it'll be titled whenever this comes out. So we'll know then for sure. But chapter 5 is the chapter called The Dementor. Give me a very brief summary of this.
So they're on the train. I almost said bus.
Yeah.
They're on the train and they stop in the middle of nowhere, and then the lights go out and the Dementor comes, and then they're in the cart with Lupin, who was sleeping, and then he wakes up and he casts a Patronus, essentially. And then Harry passes out, and then they go to Hogwarts.
Okay. Now, give me your 2-page essay on Dementors.
No, this is gonna come later because I'm gonna try to stay with the information we have, because I will agree with you. Actually, I won't agree with you. The Dementor here does not seem evil to me. It's not. It's just there. Harry passes out. I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, obviously it's a dark thing, but I'm not like super anti-Dementors. I was like, maybe it's just a Harry issue. Maybe, like he's got other stuff going on inside him.
Yeah, I'll give you that for sure. I remember when I was in my 6th grade health class, we had to watch something that was like a little bit like graphic. Like, it wasn't like a childbirth, but it was like, all the ins and outs of the health system. And all of us were watching it, and it was like, whoa, this is weird. And then I remember one kid in my class just collapsed, and like he was just like he had a weak stomach. He couldn't deal with it. That's what I equate this to at the moment. There are some kids that can look at Dementors and be fine with it and like feel the feelings that the Dementor is giving you, and they're okay with it. Some of them, like Harry, couldn't, and he just kind of faints and collapses. Doesn't mean he's weaker. It just means he can't handle some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So up until this point, I'll give you that they are kind of...
They're not evil.
But granted, they're going onto maybe they're not evil, but they're not wise. They're going onto a train with a bunch of children.
They're ordered to complete their mission. And they do it.
But their mission, according to Dumbledore, and I guess they're skirting around this, but they're not to go onto the grounds of Hogwarts.
Yeah.
So I guess they're trying to get around that by invading the train.
Oh, I just saw this as like TSA. Like, they need to do like like what's coming in. That's how I saw this.
Interesting. Okay.
That never crossed my mind.
Interesting.
Because I thought they just had to do a sweep of everything. And that's why Lupin was like, Sirius isn't under any of our cloaks or like in our luggage.
That's what he said to them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I've never looked at it in that light. I looked at it as more as an invasion for them, where they're not really allowed to do that, but they're like finding a loophole because they're not allowed on the grounds of Hogwarts. So they're like, okay, let's just go to the trains then. No. So up until this point, I kind of am with you. They're like a little bit more, I struggle with saying morally neutral.
Well, okay. The thing that really skews this is when other people start calling them evil. Like, if if Lupin never said they're evil, or Dumbledore or Hagrid never said they're evil, how evil would you actually think they are? Because right now you have almost nothing to go off of.
Yeah, up until this point for sure. But when we get into the actual description of Dementors, I am going to battle you for a long time on whether they are evil or not.
I think we should have like a Dementor debate segment that we could just like a separate episode.
100%. We could have a completely separate episode.
Because this is why I did this. I wrote this out because I was like, I actually want to figure out like, am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
But my whole argument is resting on such a small like linchpin thing that I think fundamentally you disagree with, just even like knowing you as a person. So I don't think I'll be able to convince you, but I think you'll at least get where I'm coming from.
I'll listen with an open mind.
Yeah, because I think you'll almost be like, that's true for you, But for me, I still disagree with you because it's just like how you see the world.
What is the linchpin?
No, we'll get to that.
All right, we'll
That's
get to
like
that.
chapter 12, I think.
Oh, dang. Okay, we have to get to chapter 12 today then.
We could have a Dementor debate tonight.
I'm down.
Okay.
I'm down.
So then we'll Dementor debate after this.
All right, deal.
And then leave that episode separate.
I really want to know. Okay, so they do see the Dementor in this chapter. A few other random things happen, but they're kind of just on the train.
Is Lupin sleeping?
I think he's sleeping.
You do?
Yeah.
I kind of think he is too.
But he's sleeping for right reasons. It was just a full moon.
Oh, really?
He's probably got to recuperate, recover some of his strength. So he's definitely very tired. He's like very worn out.
I love Lupin. I love Lupin.
He is one of the greatest characters in these books.
Good.
I love him so much. They talk about the Shrieking Shack in this because they're talking about everything with Hogsmeade. Had they learned Hagrid's going to be a new teacher in this?
Oh, right in that part where it's like Dumbledore saying that Hagrid is care of magical creatures, it says Lupin consented to the position, and I just felt like that was such a strong word. Like Dumbledore had to like beg him.
Yes.
More than just like he accepted the position like Hagrid did, and obviously Hagrid's over the moon that he can teach at Hogwarts.
Yep.
But I was like, consented to the position is such a strange way to put that. So I was wondering if Dumbledore has like all this like foresight to know that they need Lupin around with these Dementors.
Probably.
Because I don't know how how early on they're hired. Because Sirius could have escaped and then Dumbledore been like, oh, we need somebody who actually knows what's going on.
Do you think that at this point in the books that Dumbledore knows that Sirius is innocent? Is he that all-knowing?
At this point, no. Because he didn't know that they were animadversaries.
In what?
Like they could turn into animals. Oh. How do you say that?
Animagus.
Animagus?
You can say however you want, but you say it confidently and I'll understand what you mean.
Animagus. Is that right?
Yeah, Animagus.
Animagus. Because if he didn't know they were that, then I don't know what.
Yeah. There's definitely a little bit of secrecy going on. I'm curious if he knows that Sirius is on the loose. That's when he went after Lupin and was like, hey, not Siri on my phone. That as soon as he knew that Sirius was on the loose, he's like, okay, I need someone that was close to Sirius, who kind of knows certain things about him, to be on the campus so that I can kind of pick his brain and go from there. So I wonder if that was the reason. And Lupin was just like, fine, I'll be like your puppet for a little bit.
But if he knew Sirius was innocent, then wouldn't he know Pettigrew is the killer? Well,
that's why I'm saying he doesn't necessarily know Sirius is innocent at this point, but he knows that Sirius is on the loose and is dangerous, according to Dumbledore. So he's like, I need someone that was close to Sirius who can give me insider information about this person and what he was like and how powerful he actually is, so that I can defend the school well.
And that would be Lupin.
That would probably be Lupin, yeah. Because they think Pettigrew has died up until this point. James is obviously dead. Sirius is in prison. The only other logical person is.
But I feel like Dumbledore has to know that the rat is not a rat. Because like,
I don't know. Yeah, I know.
It's almost inconsistent to me because he sees the invisibility cloak, I feel like he can see through the invisibility cloak. He always knows what's happening. I feel like he has just the Marauders map in his mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know how you could just be an animagus and did I say that right?
You say it however you want to say it.
No, I will
animagus.
Not animagus and just be like right in front of Dumbledore and be under his nose and not like, I don't know. That's just crazy to me.
The fact that he's 13 years old too, and he probably came down in all, it is really interesting why Dumbledore really never saw Pettigrew and was suspicious of Pettigrew. I guess it's just out of sight, out of mind. It's a rat. Why would he be suspicious of something as small and insignificant as a rat? Maybe that's the work behind it. But the only plot hole ish thing I see in this book is that Dumbledore just didn't know everything that was happening here. Which how could he for sure? But like he's Dumbledore. He's like omniscient. He's like all knowing. He should know this stuff. You know?
I feel like he should have known from when like the 4 Marauders were students.
Yeah, for sure.
Because even he's onto so much that Ron and Harry are doing that's breaking the rules. Why didn't he get that from them? Especially knowing that Lupin is a werewolf as a kid and like putting the Whomping Willow there and protecting him. And Dumbledore's lying about the Shrieking Shack, keeping that up so that the whole town is scared of it. Yet another reason to
That's
not
so great,
trust
though. I
him.
love that, but not another reason to not trust him because he's not telling the truth. But it's like, okay, maybe this is always icky territory, but he's doing it for a greater reason.
The greater good.
The greater good.
I guess so. Is it though? If like this whole town is scared of it?
I think part of me likes to think that Dumbledore saw such potential in Lupin. Lupin is easily my favorite out of the Marauders. He's one of my favorites in the whole series, and I think that maybe Dumbledore saw such potential in Lupin that he's like, I want him at my school, even though he has lycanthropy, even though like we have to like really watch out with everything that he's doing. He's like, I'm gonna make up lies, I'm gonna fabricate things so we can keep him here. So because Lupin is easily the best teacher that they've ever had at school. He's so fantastic. Sure. So maybe Dumbledore saw that and was like, I got to start training this kid up right now. That's how I like to think. I don't know if that's legitimate.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it is really fascinating why Dumbledore didn't really know all the things that were going on. It's obviously not plot holes. Like, again, how could he know? But this rat is passed down in the Weasley family, a very common family for years and years and years, and he just didn't see there because there's only I think 7, maybe 11 registered anime guy. There's not a lot of anime guy that are registered. Mm-hmm. So he knows all the ones that are, and then he knows the ones that are illegally registered, which are the Marauders, to protect the... Actually, he doesn't
He didn't know
that.
He
didn't know that. That's
because
right.
Lupin only said that like right before he left.
Which, again, is wild to me that Dumbledore never...
But he's like 50 years younger. Maybe he didn't have all his experience.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's kind of
he's
like
not,
a plot hole.
It's not 50 years younger. It's only like 15. So Lupin...
Oh, that's true.
Because Lily and James were 20 when they died. 21 when they died.
What?
Right? They had Harry very early, and they were 21 when they died. So Lupin, they were all like 21. So Lupin right now is like 34, 33, 34. Lupin is my age.
I'm redesigning all of my imagination.
Yeah, he's not old. He's definitely not an old guy.
What?
He is very young.
Because I know it's saying, oh, he looks so scraggly and he has gray hair, but that's because he's a werewolf.
Because he's a werewolf. The stress on his life has made him gray.
So he got bit by
when he was a kid.
Where does one come across a werewolf?
His dad offended someone who is a werewolf, and the werewolf went after his family on a full moon. Dang. And bit Lupin. So Lupin was just was just a victim of a werewolf bite.
So do you like lose your mind in your werewolf?
There's different not stages, but if there's a potion that's invented called the Wolfsbane potion, which essentially means like you transform, but you're like subdued, almost like a tranquilizer. Probably you're like subdued in your transformed state. But they didn't invent the Wolfsbane potion while Lupin was a student, which is why he needed to be detained in the Shrieking Shack, which is why it's the Shrieking Shack. Dumbledore, and he didn't lie about that necessarily. He just let the stories go.
He's like encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. He's encouraging the because people are saying it's haunted, so he just encourages that. He's just like, yeah, let the fire keep going. He doesn't put the fire out right away.
I guess that's like Bigfoot and me. I don't know. Something about it doesn't feel right. So, but like the wolf that bit Lupin still had his intentional like human mind of like, I need to get revenge, chomp. And then, because it says Lupin's getting like more and more unhinged with his transformations.
I think so. So I think you probably would get more and more unhinged every transformation that you have. But I think the Wolfsbane potion just lets you transform, but I think it lets you keep your human mind. So you're like just a werewolf. Like imagine like you burst into Lupin's office and he's like sitting at his desk and werewolf form, like writing notes.
Oh, that'd be
he's
crazy.
Like, oh, hey, Harry. Oh, crap. You saw me on a Wolfsbane day.
The full moon.
Oh, yeah, I know. But I think this werewolf, he probably like a little bit crazier every single one.
Do they have like a short lifespan?
No, they're normal.
I don't know anything about werewolves.
Yeah, they maybe have a shorter lifespan because they're living more dangerously because they don't really know what they're doing on their full moon cycle. So like maybe they get into trouble and they get like shot because they're like, terrorizing something. They don't really know what's happening.
But would people kill a werewolf because like they know it's a person?
A werewolf?
Like if a werewolf's attacking me.
What in your mind is a werewolf? What does a werewolf look like?
A werewolf looks like a wolf that's on its hind legs. It's like standing up.
So a werewolf looks very similar to just a normal wolf. They're hard to differentiate.
It's like a wolf, but it looks like Bigfoot body, kind of like that shape.
Massive.
Yeah. I mean, wolves are massive.
Yeah, wolves are massive, but it's not a Bigfoot sized wolf. Werewolves are just wolves. They're just like human wolves.
That's so
They're
lame.
pretty much the same size, maybe a little bit bigger. But the movies don't portray it that well. But
so you're gonna say that you don't know it's a werewolf? You think it's a normal wolf?
I just don't think you know it. But the only reason you know it's a werewolf is like we're living like right outside of New York City. If we all of a sudden start seeing like a pack of wolves running around in our state, we're like, that's probably bang, not bang. Legitimate. Yeah, those might be werewolves. We need to watch out.
Got you. Okay.
Like if a bunch of wolves are running around England, I'm like, I don't know how many wolves exist in England. We need to like figure out their territory.
I went to a wolf sanctuary once.
What?
I like could touch its fur through the fence. Yeah, it was crazy. That's so very like they're very scary. They were just chilling like normal dogs, but I would not want to see one of those in the wild.
Did I ever tell you my wolf story?
No.
It's one of my coolest hiking stories ever. I was in Yellowstone and I was doing like solo hiking and I was trying to do a long backpacking trip, but it fell through. So I just went to Yellowstone and I was like doing some animal watching, and all these people saw this wolf pack on this ridge, and I was like, that's so cool. I looked through it and it was like a mile away. Barely see these wolves, but everyone had like their binoculars and their like little telescopes and they were pointing it at them. And I'm like, tomorrow morning I'm gonna go hike up there and see if I can like see any remnants of the wolves.
What?
So I hike for like an hour. I'm like in the middle of this like ridge line and it just completely open, completely isolated too. So I'm yelling out, "Hey bear," so I don't get attacked by a bear. And I yell it out one time. And for me to like 50 to 60 feet away, a wolf pops out, looks at me, and just dashes away up the ridgeline. And another one does it. And another one does it. What? And I had 9 wolves that popped out of this little den and saw me and bolted up. And so there's 9 wolves on the top of this ridgeline, and they're all running away from me, and they all stop and they look back at me. And I keep following them because they're not gonna attack me. They're Yellowstone wolves. They're terrified of you. So the wind is blowing straight at my back, and it's violently blowing straight at my back. It's like really windy day. So I go up to the ridgeline where they are. I try to see if they went over the ridgeline, but they went into the tree line, so I couldn't really see them anymore. So I started walking back, and all of a sudden I see this black tiny speck, and it's just moving closer and closer to me, and it's like directly in line with where I am. So I have a video of this still, and it looks further away than what it really is. But I remember I did what any other person would do. I took out my phone and started taking a video of this, and I crouched down in like the tall grass, and the wolf came, and he was probably like 50 yards away when he started to veer a little bit to my left. And he started going a little bit around me. And I have a video of him just like walking around me. He doesn't catch my scent at all because the wind is going straight at my face this time. And he goes and he keeps going like 50 more feet above me. So I'm like still videoing him. And then all of a sudden he catches a scent of me. He looks around and sees me and just bolts away. Whoa. Like terrified. And I was like, this is the coolest thing that I've ever hiking experienced. None of them were werewolves. It wasn't a full moon, so it is like one of my favorite hiking stories. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had hiking.
Wow.
It was so fantastic.
That is crazy.
I know. It was great. So fun. Okay. We only got through chapter 1 or chapter 5. What is chapter 6? Talon and tea leaves on.
Trelawney.
Yep. I can't wait to talk about this. So they essentially meet Trelawney. Trelawney gives a bunch of predictions, and I want to talk about all these predictions because you know a lot of the end of the story, or not like really the end, but you know some of the details of it. We're gonna kind of keep going through this, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. But Trelawney is said to be a hoax in these books.
Yeah, you think she's like 100% accurate.
She's 100% accurate in everything that she says.
I'm not there yet. I don't think that's totally outlandish. Like I can see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of like if you listen to season 1 of this, Dani's theory that she will cause the thing to happen.
Yeah.
That I was like, I'm into that. That seems really accurate to me. Like with Neville breaking stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's a total fraud. Because I feel like the future is probably changeable, so you can't you could predict what's gonna happen, but someone might just like choose a different path on the way there, and then the future is different than what you predicted it. Because Dumbledore says something like that after the time turner. He's like, the future is so like there's so many consequences to our actions, blah blah. That's why Trelawney has such a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think she's a complete fraud, and I think her like aura of mystery is like on purpose. I think that's like self preservation in a way. Like she doesn't want to just have everybody asking her what's gonna happen to them, and like I don't know. I feel like she's probably way smarter than she even lets on.
She is definitely everyone in the books thinks that she's a hoax. Even like Dumbledore flat out is like, she's only like, that ups at the end of this book. He's like, oh, that ups her correct total predictions to 2. Like Dumbledore thinks she's like such a fraud. But I think everything that she says has shades of being right. She just misinterprets it. I just don't think she's a good interpreter of the future. I think she is 100% a seer of the future. I just don't think she knows how to interpret what she sees. One of the first predictions that she makes is Neville's grandmother is ill.
I'm not with you on this.
Okay.
I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
That Snape is wearing a nightgown, and she
she sees this weird dude wearing Neville's grandmother's clothes and is like, oh, Neville's grandma looks so sick right now, like so ill. And then she says, Neville, like your grandma doesn't look very well. And so she just says, Neville, I think your grandma's ill. That's the first prediction. 100%.
No. What? How much terrible vision would you need to have?
Again, she sees these things, but she's bad at interpreting. She's bad at interpreting everything that that comes her way. She just only sees what's in front of her 2 front eyes. She doesn't have an interpretation for anything that's very well. She says, beware a redheaded man. To Parvati Patil. Padma Patil, her twin sister, dates Ron, goes on a date with Ron, and it goes terribly. So she's seeing this date go terribly wrong, sees the twin sister, and thinks that's Parvati, and says, Parvati, you need to beware a redheaded man. Looking at Ron, knowing that Ron's gonna like screw her over on this date.
No, I feel like they're in her writing this. JK is giving us options that we could splice into these little prophecy things. And I don't think like you trying to prove your point is like making me less on like your side of this. I don't know, because there's so many different things that you could put in like those gaps.
Again, agreed. There's so many things you could put in those gaps. But my thing is she knows the future. Again, she is just bad at interpreting the future. She sees these things happening. Like she's a true seer. It takes a true seer and a good interpreter. Like a seer isn't necessarily someone who is good at interpreting the facts. She just says stuff flat out. Like she might not see things like again, maybe my perception of it is this. Some things that she sees really cloudy, some things that she sees a little bit more clear. Like the prediction that she makes with Sirius in the end of this is a very, very clear prediction. She's like essentially a mouthpiece for something else that's happening. And that's kind of how it's portrayed in the books. When she gets all weird? Yeah, when she gets all weird.
That's
she goes like true. Rigid. That's like for sure a true one. But it's a true one, and those true ones come to her. Do those true ones come to anybody else in these books? Does anybody else have a prophecy?
No.
So like my point is like, why does no one else have a prophecy in these books? Why is it only Trelawney? But it is only Trelawney because these prophecies are coming to a true seer.
She someone who actually can see. A true seer and then have like a 1 out of 10 like accuracy. And she's making up these other 9 out of 10 things because she has to keep up her job.
Not making them up. She sees them, but they're just cloudy. So she takes guesses because she wants to be right. She has severe confidence issues.
No, but even like by saying something's going to happen, you're altering the person's future actions where she's like, you're going to be late. And then that kid is like, oh, well, I was going to be late today, so I'm just not going. Like that kid is acting because she showed him his future.
She didn't. Here's my point. Here's another point. Neville, she doesn't know anything about Neville. Nothing about Neville. She predicts that the clumsiest student in the entire class is going to break it. Yeah, you're going to say, oh, of course, Neville would like get really nervous and break that thing. I'm saying she just saw it beforehand and was able to predict. How did she do that? Why didn't she say that to Ron? Why didn't she say that to Harry or Hermione? Hermione would never have dropped it.
Okay, that's true.
Like she knew Neville, she sees Neville's going to break this. She doesn't know anything about
these
students.
Or she caused him to break it. We'll never know.
She put a little spell on the teacup that makes it jump out of his hand.
But why? Okay, then explain this. Why has none of those students ever died? Because if a student's told that he's going to die every single year, why don't they? She makes a death wish prediction. And McGonagall's like, none of that has ever come true.
I have answers for all these. I don't know of any of her prior predictions. So I can't really come up with answers to any of the prior ones. I can come up with an answer to Harry, though.
No, you need to have the other ones.
I don't know any of the other ones. If I had a list of them, I would come up with the reasons why.
Why do you even need to know that?
You don't. So there is a point to it where I think she's in... So... There's this is going into a deep dive in Trelawney. I think it's a 2-part thing. I think Trelawney is very, very insecure. When I see her as a character, I think she's incredibly insecure. I think she's a true seer, but simultaneously, I think that she makes these predictions, these outlandish predictions that someone's going to die for show. She is 100% a showman, a show woman. She is like definitely doing things to rile the crowd up. The only predictions, I mean, I don't know. I would definitely come up with justification for every single one that she does, for every student that she predicts. I only know Harry's. I can come up with justification for that one for sure. She's
for the one in this book where she's like, tonight the rising up. Yeah, okay.
Yep. So
just go ahead.
There's another one, and we're gonna talk about this one later on. But she says. She freaks out in one moment because there's 13 dining at a table, and she freaks out and because she thinks another person is going to join the table, and she says whoever is the first person to rise is going to be the first to die. Do you know who rises first at that table? Gosh. Yeah, Wes, relax, dude.
No, because they go at the same time.
Nope. Well, you're kind of right. They do go at the same time, but there's a cooler note in this.
Okay.
Before she shows up, she thinks that there are 12 at the table. But it makes a very specific note that Scabbers was also there at the table, feasting on something. There were already 13 people at the table. You know who the first person to stand up when Trelawney entered into the room was? It's none other. And you know this person dies. None other than Albus Dumbledore is the first person to stand up.
What?
So she makes this prediction, or it's not really a prediction. It's more of like a urban legend, I guess. This like
that's
thing
like
that
an
happens.
Omen or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this pops up all the time. Danny has always been suspicious of 13 people that are ever dining at a table. And her predictions are, though that's like a good indicator of a person that's going to die, is the first person to stand up in these books. We'll go through a few other ones of the first person that dies. And Dumbledore is the first person that dies at that table. And when Trelawney sits down, there's 14 people at the table. Wes, stop. Stop it. Come on.
Interesting.
I'll keep breaking into Trelawney bits as we go because I am very convinced that she is.
You're like actually convinced. You're not doing this for the bit of like doing this.
No, I'm not doing this for the views. I actually think that she is. It's softer than you think it is. I'm not like she's making perfect predictions about everything. I just think that she has the ability to see into the future. I think this can kind of be trained as well. I think Hermione's actually a little bit wrong in how she understands Hermione to be, which is like dry. She has no aptitude to do this. I do think anybody can look into these signs and like figure things out, but I think Trelawney goes a step further in that she can actually see certain things that happen in the future, but she just doesn't know how to interpret it. She knows all the book smarts. She knows like, oh, this sign, if it's in the bottom of your teacup means this. It means like a bad omen, yada, yada, yada.
That was such a funny scene of them all reading.
It was so good. It was so good.
Maybe she's just very elementary at her craft, like, and she hasn't even mastered it.
Yeah, maybe. There's definitely a possibility for that. But I'll keep breaking into those. There's a lot more that she kind of gives that we'll kind of talk about. All right, let's go on to chapter 7, which is the Boggart and the wardrobe. There's even mentions, there's so much in these chapters we could talk about because we talk about the Dementor a little bit in these. But we'll save the Dementor discussion for later.
Separate
podcast.
We can go for hours. I'll get you. I mean, you can't get me with Trelawney, but I can get you with the Dementors.
We'll see. The next one is the Boggart and the wardrobe. Actually, before we do that, they do learn about Animagi. If you could transform it, I think I asked you that one before.
Did you?
Yeah, because you said a duck.
I said that.
Yeah, because you're just like, it's the best of everything. Animal? Maybe it was your spirit animal. If you could transform into any animal, which animal would you want to transform into?
A duck. I don't know. Maybe like a camel. Like I just saw a camel on my Instagram. I don't know. Do you have an answer?
No, not really. I can ask these questions.
There's like so many options.
I know.
I can't even think of all the animals in the world.
Didn't you say like you like fish?
Oh yeah, being a fish would be really fun.
No way.
I love fish. Yes.
All right.
They're so cool.
All right, we'll definitely hit some of the Animagus talk a little bit later too, but let's talk about the Boggart and the wardrobe, chapter 7. Give me a very quick summary of this one.
Lupin teaches his class, and it's very fun.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, it's one of the best lessons they've ever had, if not the best lesson. I love it. It's such a good lesson.
This is the first time I feel like you get a really long look at what an actual class is.
Yes.
So that's kind of fun.
I love that too.
And it's so hands-on, and he's actually nice and a good teacher and like cheering people on, encouraging them.
Yep. He really is the greatest teacher that they've ever had. He is a fantastic person. I love him so much.
I think if it wasn't for him being a werewolf, like he would just thrive so much being a professor.
But he has so much shame and so much like guilt heaped up about being a werewolf that he would be very he is very self-sabotaging, so he would never continue as long as he's a werewolf, and he is a werewolf. So he's like, I'm just doing this almost as out of a favor to Dumbledore. Like he consents to the post of this, he's like, he almost has to.
But he is legitimately dangerous too.
Yes, exactly.
Is not ideal.
Yeah, it's not ideal at all. But again, the Wolfsbane potion, he's legitimately dangerous, but it is a little wild that Dumbledore that this isn't really communicated to some of the students as well. Again, maybe a little Dumbledore shadiness going on right there. But to the parents I feel like should know about a werewolf being a teacher. I know it's like very taboo, everything like that, but...
So does he not turn into a werewolf with this potion? I forget.
No, he does, but he just retains his human mind, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's still probably pretty dangerous, and if he bites anybody with the Wolfsbane potion, I think they still become a werewolf.
So he still just goes to the Shrieking Shack?
He just curls up in his office. He essentially locks himself in his office, has a transformation, and has to recover for like a week or so, and then he can start teaching again.
Whoa.
It's rough.
So what if like, does he have paintings in his office that could like tattle on him?
I don't think so. There's every office is decorated a little bit differently, and his office just has a lot of like creatures in it, and I don't think there's any paintings in his office though. None that are at least explicitly written in the books. It's a great question though.
Yeah.
What a terrible tattletale of a painting.
I have a good paintings question when we get to the fat lady.
All right, great.
But my thought for this chapter, I have a note that Peeves is like, Peeves came at the very dawn of the school because he was like, he's the oldest ghost.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about this, about like...
He's not a ghost.
Oh.
He's a poltergeist.
Okay, same thing. Whatever. He's like a poltergeist, but he started with the students and like they had their like weird energies in it. Boom. Yeah. But so Peeves would have probably been there when Lupin and all these people were students.
100%, yeah.
So then, like, I guess Peeves wouldn't know that he's a werewolf, but I feel like maybe... I feel like Peeves has so much opportunity to be a spoiler of stuff. Like, Peeves could have known about the Marauders map or, like, that they were all doing something. Like, I don't know. And Peeves should know...
That's fascinating, actually.
He should know more of, like, when the school was formed. Because I'm not saying he was formed on the exact day that the school started, but...
It definitely wasn't the original founding, but he was founded probably the first year that the school existed because... he is a collection of the students' mischievous energy. And that is what Peeves essentially is. Poltergeist that's like the form of a poltergeist.
Yeah.
So he was created early. So that's a great question. Whether Peeves is probably one of the greatest sources of knowledge in the school, but I don't think he cares about knowledge. He cares about mischief. So but even if he knew that He kind of does actually know that Lupin's a werewolf. Maybe not. I think he just knows the nicknames because he calls him Looney, Lupin.
Yeah. But imagine if he did and he was like, guys, Lupin's a werewolf. Like, chaos. And you can't get rid of him either.
That's a great point.
I guess, like, Dumbledore could petrify him. But...
maybe? I don't know. That would be a fascinating one. Make him look into a basilisk size.
But that was question. Like my only thought because Peeves showed up again.
That's a really fascinating one. I have no answers for that one.
I also wrote Peeves is solid because he's a poltergeist. Yeah. Right? He's not like you can't go through him. I think I read that on the fandom.
I think he can go through walls. He can float. I don't think he can go through him. He can control material like other people can't control material. Like ghosts can't control much. They can like control a little bit of the wind that like passes when like your hair is going to go up a little bit when they pass you. You'll feel a little colder, but Peeves can actually control objects. That's a really fascinating point about Peeves. I've never thought about that. There you go. The real question I have for this chapter: what would pop out as a boggart for you?
I've thought about this. I think a ghost. I'm like super spooked out. Yeah.
What do you said? Like ghosts in Hogwarts are a little cast for ghosts.
Yeah, but I don't even know because I had that thought too, and then all of the other students' things sound scary. So there's just so many options. There's so much to be scared of. Just like men.
Just a big old guy walks out of that. Like, what the heck?
I don't know. I have no idea. That because I don't have like a thing that I'm just fearing every day that just is like constantly there. Like there's times where you're like, oh, that idea is scary, or that person's creepy, but I'm not like, oh, whatever this like green faced lady is, like that's my biggest fear in life.
It is interesting, like as these students, their fears are less abstract and much more like things.
And they're all wizardy things.
Yeah, they're all wizardy things. Yeah, which is really fascinating. Like I think that's definitely true when I was a kid too. Like I was probably if I was a 8th grader at this time, which is what you are, and I think like a T-Rex would pop out of that. I was deathly afraid of dinosaurs, T-Rexes when I was a kid. Jurassic Park movies scared me so much with T-Rexes. So T-Rex would probably pop out. But now as an adult, it'd be like, you know, the fear of abandonment, whatever that would materialize as.
Room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone just disappears.
Or like, you know, the fear of whatever. Like people would be like, what does the fear of commitment look like in a Bogart form, you know?
Just like a wedding ring.
Yeah, right?
No, like, I can't do it.
I don't want to do it. But it is really interesting because for the adults, there's a I'm not going to spoil really too much, but there is an adult that encounters a Bogart, and it is much more an abstract fear portrayed through something terrible that is happening. And it's actually a really chilling part to read. And we'll get there when we get there in a few books.
But Lupin's is just the moon.
Because, yeah, that it just makes sense. But his isn't, like, again, what do you think Lupin's fear actually is? Is it the moon? Is it his transformation?
Yeah, that's why I don't think it can be like an idea or like arbitrary. It needs to be like a pinpointed object because he's not scared of the moon. He's scared of like everything that's he's transforming into, or like the fact that he might put students in danger.
Yes.
But
I don't even think he's scared of the moon. I think he's scared of himself, like what he could potentially do to people. So that's why he is such a.
It should have turned into a werewolf.
I know. Wait, he what? The Bogart should have turned into a werewolf, but he's not afraid of werewolves. He's afraid of what the moon. That's why I like that it was the moon, because he's not necessarily afraid of just general werewolves. Like his fear isn't the werewolf that bit him. His fear is what he transforms into. His fear, it's like the Jekyll and Hyde thing. He has no fear for just these werewolves that exist out there. He is more afraid of what he would do to people when he transforms. His fear is his transformation. And there's a lot packed into that I think is like really fascinating.
Yeah. I definitely, the first time I read that, I knew that was the moon, but I didn't understand werewolves. So I didn't know what that meant. But I think now that I'm thinking about it, and that you say when you're in 8th grade or whatever, when I was a kid, I was terrified of tornadoes.
Oh gosh.
And every time there was like a weather show on TV or like the Storm Chasers, I would freak out and I would like cry and I couldn't watch it. Yeah. And I was so scared all the time. So probably at that, or maybe not that age, but at one point in my life, tornadoes.
Yeah, that would terrify me too. I remember I watched a movie, I think it was just called Tornado or something like that.
Is it Twister?
Twister, yeah.
Twister was like my worst nightmare. Yes. Now I love it.
It was so scary. It was a terrifying movie. Yeah. Hated it.
I'm scared of drowning in a car. That is like really
eerily specific.
Yeah, like I do not want to drown in a car. That's what it would turn into. Cause like, what's your worst way of dying? Cause that could be.
Yeah, that could be it too. That's the other thing. I would actually be fascinated to see what it would turn into for me. Cause like I have like things that I'm afraid of generally, but I don't know what my biggest fear would be. So it'd be illuminating for this thing to actually like transform into something. I don't know, the scariest way to die, I don't know, like being burnt alive or something like that. Like a super painful way to die.
A little Wendell in the Weird.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I love that you knew Wendell in the Weird. Let's go.
I'm committed.
Or like being tarred and feathered. Once I read that in a book, I was like, whoa. There's no worse way to die than being tarred and feathered. That'd be awful.
Yeah, I've seen some like torture devices in museums. So awful. Yeah. Like why do people even think of that? It's bad. I had a thought, but I lost it. I don't know what I was gonna say.
It's all right, it'll come back to you eventually.
Oh, I feel like the Bogart?
Because however you want
Stop,
to say
you cannot let me pronounce things wrong. Bogart, I think it needs the intention of like having a fear in front of it. Like, I don't know if it can materialize your worst fear and you're like, oh, I am scared of that. I feel like it almost needs you to set the tone. That's at least the way that I
actually like that.
portrayed it.
Because I think it would change at different parts. I think because that's a great point. Because Lupin is actually a little confused with Harry when Harry steps in front of it, because he initially thinks it's going to transform into Lord Voldemort, and even Harry says like, "Oh yeah, I thought of him first, but then I thought of Dementors." Mm-hmm. So it essentially maybe just material or changes whatever is in the forefront of your mind, which is why the ridiculous charm actually works, because you're able to make it whatever is in your mind, it just transforms into. So like you picture that in your mind and you use a spell and it transforms into that. That's a great point. I think it definitely does transform straight into whatever is like the person is thinking at that moment. It's a little, because it's a bit more superficial than the Mirror of Erised. That's a great point.
Thanks.
Nice work.
Nice work.
Anything else in this chapter?
I don't know. I feel like we covered it.
Yeah. The Bogger is a really fascinating thing, though. All right. The last one, The Flight of the Fat Lady. Great chapter.
So good. Is this... Oh, wait, no. This is not where it is.
It's a great ending to this chapter. This is one of the best endings.
Okay, it is then.
Yeah.
This Sirius Black.
Yep.
Is it that one?
Yep.
Yeah. That made me like scream and like when I finished this, and then I was like, well, can't go to bed now. And then I read and read and read.
Yep.
It's so good.
I know, it really is. What's your painting theory or question?
Oh, well, I guess this comes in like a lot later too, but the paintings really have like a lot of responsibility because the fat lady's essentially putting her life on the line. Like, I don't know if she can die, but like the paintings, I feel like almost have to have like a hiring process. Like, how do you get to be in Hogwarts? Because she's like, I guess they trust her enough to be the guardian of all these kids. Yeah. And then she like is gonna get traumatized and hurt by Sirius Black. But then you can't just go to the store and buy a painting because you think it's cool. Like, these are real people. What are they? Like, how does that work?
Paintings. They're like, if you go to the Museum of Modern Art, or like, those paintings wouldn't really come alive. Like the Met. If you go to the Met, they're like just paintings of people. Even if they're signified by real people, it's not the person itself. It's just a painting of the person. But there is different sentient levels for paintings. So this is something that, like the headmasters, you've seen like the headmasters in the headmaster's office. There's paintings of all of them around, and each headmaster is actually encouraged that a portrait of the headmaster is painted early on in their headmaster career, and the headmaster is actually encouraged to spend time every single day with their painting, so the painting actually understands it more and can gain a little bit of wisdom from the actual person, so that when the person dies, the painting has more of the person's mind in them. But these other paintings are just like, it's like that painting on the wall right there. It's like those people just kind of walking around. They're not real.
But if I took this painting and there's this little baby and I make it my guardian to this dormitory, that baby's not going to fight for these lives. Like, that baby's just going to be like, peace, I'm gone. And
they'll peace and gone, but they'll go into another painting. I don't know if they can legitimately open the thing without letting password. No, it's probably something, maybe it's like programmed into the paintings that she literally cannot open the door unless the password is given. It can't be like, you can't like convince this person of otherwise. But there's other ways. Each of the other common rooms has a different, not necessarily a different way of getting in, but they're a little different of how you get into them. It would actually, I think Gryffindor's and Slytherin's with the password is like very much programming that if you get the password, you can go in. If you don't have it, you just cannot gain access. Even if you destroy the painting, even if the fat lady like literally cannot open the door unless the password is given.
Is it just a hole in the wall behind her?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Isn't Ravenclaw's like a math problem or something?
It's a logic. It's like a riddle, which is fascinating.
I love riddles. But still, I feel like you'd have to choose wisely to have your painting.
Yeah,
like,
for
I
sure.
don't know.
That's why they picked Sir Cadogan after, and he's like just this.
He's a weirdo.
He's like brave, but he's like a little bit of an idiot.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but I do kind of like him. I think he's great. There is a line in this chapter that I actually want to talk about for a bit. Lupin talks to Harry. I actually want to find this. I didn't write it down.
Do you just want that line?
Give me a little bit of context around it.
So he's talking if it would be Voldemort or the Dementor, and then Lupin said Voldemort's name, and then clearly I was wrong, said Lupin, still frowning, but I didn't think it was a good idea for Lord Voldemort to materialize in the staff room. I imagine that people would panic. But then Harry said, honestly, I remember those Dementors. I see, said Lupin thoughtfully. Well, I'm impressed. He smiled slightly at the look of surprise on Harry's face. That suggests that what you fear most of all is fear. Very wise, Harry.
Okay, great. How is fearing fear wise? I don't understand that line.
I don't know. He just heard Roosevelt say that and thought that sounded smart, so he just repeated it. I like Googled that because Roosevelt said that before that this happened.
I love that. So, I love that. So Lupin's stealing from U.S. presidents.
For sure. I don't know. Like, I don't get how a Dementor is fear itself.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
That's not a word I would use to describe it. You could group that in the negative emotions, but that's not really what they want. And they want the happy stuff anyway.
I'm kind of with you on that.
Because Lupin says something that, like, confuses me because I still don't fully understand why they want Harry so much more. Yeah. But Lupin says it's because there's so much more horrors in Harry's life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what they want. Like, they want his happiness.
Yeah, it's a fascinating discussion, actually.
So I don't know. I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know what that means. I guess, like, fear is paralyzing. And as long as you're not taking action, you're succumbing to your surroundings and your situation. So as long as you're not fearful, you can take action and you can own the situation. But there's better ways to say that.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Like, I'm fitting that into maybe that's what he meant. But I don't know. I don't even know why Roosevelt said that. So,
I mean, he said that essentially as propaganda.
The only thing to fear.
Yeah.
Is fear itself.
Like, you say that in times of war, so like people can calm down a little bit. You know, you don't have to fear these other people that are coming at you. You really have to just fear itself. And you're like, no, I'm pretty sure I can fear like these people that are coming to kill me too.
Yeah,
you know?
I fear the missiles shooting through the air.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any theories since you're so?
No, not really. That's always been a weird line to me because I'm with you. I don't think Dementors really represent fear. I think they represent something different from fear. I think they represent almost sadness and depression a little bit more than they do fear. I think Boggarts actually represent fear in a much more significant way than Dementors do.
That's true.
So when he says that, I'm like, I don't think Dementors really fit the bill. But the if you were just like even just to isolate that line, I guess it's wise in that you realize that you don't really need to fear anything. Like, phobias are all essentially irrational. Like, what do you have to fear about some of this kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's true. The next line is Harry didn't know what to say to that, so he drank some more tea.
That's literally, let's just do that. That's like us right now. We don't really understand that, so let's end the podcast. Thanks for joining us on this journey of Harry Potter and the First 10 movies. Do you have anything else to say about these?
I don't know.
Oh, we gotta do favorites.
I interrupted your train of thought.
No, that was great because I don't really like again. I'm like almost with Harry. Like, Lupin says this, and I'm like, oh, it's like great, whatever. But I just think, I don't know. This one, it's always struck me as a strange line. So,
I like this whole conversation though.
Yeah.
Because Lupin's giving him information that he really needs, that Harry really needs. And then Harry's also like trusting him. And then I love when he starts talking about Snape and he's like blurting out these things and he's like, Snape likes the dark arts.
Yeah.
And obviously Lupin knows that Snape is helping him and all this stuff. But Harry's like trying to protect Lupin. Is like, oh no, don't die. You're going to get poisoned. He wants to slap the potion out of his hand.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it is good. All right, let's go over favorites. Who is your favorite character and what is your favorite moment in these 4 chapters? Just did 4.
The 4 chapters. Oh my god. I feel like I have to say Lupin.
Yeah.
This is kind of where he comes to his, I don't know, fruition.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way of putting that. I'm losing my voice.
That's all right. We're almost done. So
Lupin, I don't know what my favorite moment is.
I think Lupin's my favorite, and I think my favorite moment is when they're just having a conversation with each other, because I think it's like really the first person, like Harry's able to confide in other people, and he has like Hagrid, he has some of these other people, but I don't know if he's had like an adult figure who's been wise and so accessible. Like Dumbledore is that, but he's not accessible. Harry can't go to Dumbledore whenever he really wants to. He probably can, but he's like intimidated by that. Lupin, on the other hand, seems a bit more like down to earth than Dumbledore. So their conversation that they have, I love that, because it's like the first time Harry's really been able to ask deeper questions about the magical world, and he's really been able to get some answers about it.
Yeah, Lupin feels really real.
Yeah.
And that's like why I don't like Dumbledore's, because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But Lupin is like happy.
Yeah.
I like him. And I feel like the favorite moment is when the painting gets destroyed.
It's such a good moment.
That's a good one.
It is one of my favorite chapter enders of all time.
Yeah.
So good. Well, thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the Second Time Reader. You should have said that. You got to say that.
Well, thanks for joining us on our journey. Thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the Second Time Reader.
Bye. What do you always do?
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah, no, you have to go bye. I have to go see ya.
Okay, deal.
Again.
Let's do it again. One more time from the top.
Thanks for joining us on our journey of Harry Potter and the Second Time Reader.
Bye.
See ya.
Nailed it.
Why is that so funny? You have to go bye.
Bye.